Hi, welcome to Craft It Sweetly. I'm Deanna. Thanks so much for being here. So in this video, I wanted to show you a new feature on the Wunderfold book folding software. Brian has come out with a new multi-layer option when you create patterns. And I kind of already started this particular pattern. I created this. It's just a very simple pattern. I wanted to kind of figure out how it works and how to do everything as far as the multi-layer in the pattern. So the pattern now is color-coded. And I'm using 3 different colors in my pattern. So I have a red, pink, and then a yellow. And then this, I'm going to do something different for it. But I kind of wrote down on the sides here just to remind myself how far I'm folding in each of the layers. So I have the red as the first fold, the pink is going to be the second fold, and then the yellow is the third fold. So when you look at the pattern, it's color-coded here as well. So it tells you for page 45, for example, to cut on to cut on 2 centimeters, 4.3. And then this looks like it's doubling, but it's actually just indicating that from 2 to 4.3, you're gonna fold down to your first line, or whatever you determine the C to be at. I decided on C to be the outermost cut. I hope that makes sense. I'll show you in the book in a second. But this is going to be the farthest up. This is going to be a little deeper, and that's going to be the deepest. And then this is going to be even farther in, which is the same as the outside part. So when I look at this, I'm not marking 4.3 twice. It's going to be 2, 4.3, and then 10.3. And this will help me determine where I'm folding into the book. And then when I look farther down, I have a yellow that comes into the picture, which is my third deepest layer. So I'm going to mark at 1.4, at 3.1, 4.7, 9.3, 10.8, and 12. And then, of course, the last one. And then that will show me, based on the colors, how deep I'm going to fold these, because this is what I decided on. So this will make a little more sense as I'm showing you the book. So like I said, I already started this because I wanted to kind of get a feel for the layers. And you can kind of see in the book here, and I'll do one page to show you, but I'm doing all the pages down to this fold, but then my red from in here, my outer heart is going to be highest, then my pink heart is going to be here, and then the yellow is actually a lot deeper. And the reason that is because I'm using my 180 marker, which has these already set score lines. Now, if this was a little skinnier, you could have these at same depths, but I'm just going with what I have on here, thus creating, like just a small drop in the steps and then a longer one. And then I'm not sure if you can tell, but there is right there, you can actually tell right there, there's 1, 2, 3, and then 4. Those are my 4 layers in here. So when I'm marking this, okay, so what I do first with the book is, I've done some videos showing how to use the 180 ruler to score this. And what's nice with this is that you can score basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines right off the bat. And what I'm using is 1, 2, and then 3 and 4 as far as my lines. I'm not using the outer part. And I do have one that's wider. I don't have it in my Etsy shop at the moment, but I'll plan on adding that as well, which has additional score lines. So let's see, I scored some of these here already, so let me score another one. Where did I leave off? That one's done. Okay. So those are scored already. I'll generally score about, you know, 5 to 10 pages because it just makes it easier. I don't have to keep, you know, putting it down and getting the ink ruler and then back and forth. I try and score a few pages and then go and mark and measure. So I set down, when I set it on the book, I press the spine. I want to make sure that this is at 90 degrees. If it's not, your markings are going to be off, and then you're not going to end up with a nice even score line for all your pages. And then once the spine is forward and I set my ruler down, as you can see in the ruler, it has like a 90-degree angle right there. So that's going to hook against the edge of the pages. And then I'm going to mark my score lines. So I've got score line 1, 2, and then I move my hand out of the way, 3, and then 4 down here. This whole time I have pressure on the ruler. If I let go, it kind of, the spine will tend to pull backwards, especially the more you get into the book. All right, so I've scored, let me do one more here. Set it down, I'm pressing forward the spine, and usually I can do a whole bunch of them without having to keep pushing the spine forward, because I'll hold pressure here and I just lift, and the spine hasn't changed at that point. So I just do it initially where I push it forward. So score line 1, 2, and I'm kind of moving my stylus in the various directions. It's an embossing tool, so that it scores, you know, it has that little difference in score line. It's this way, and then I'm scoring in this direction. Okay, so I have those scored. Now once I score the lines, I will put this out of the way, and now I switch over to my Incra ruler. Okay, and then I'm using the Incra ruler with a pencil that fits into the tiny little holes. If you have not used an Incra ruler, this is an eye saver, and it just makes everything super fast. And I'm going to mark the next line in my pattern. 1.3294357. Okay, so I've marked, you can see the individual marks on here. And then once I mark these, now it's going to be a little harder to tell on camera, but I have the 4 score lines here. 1, 2, 3, and 4 are my score lines that I marked with the ruler. Now I'm going to cut this all the way to the deepest score line, because I'm going to fold these at different places, but it's just easier to cut all the way to the end. Okay, so now I've cut everything down to the main line, and this will get folded all the way back. That's my area right here, and this gets folded all the way back. Make sure I'm on the score line there. Okay, now I know the next 2 are going to be just the first score line. And that helps to, you know, even though I cut that all the way back, I'm only folding this up to here. The next 2 are to the second score line. Oops. Which is, I have 1, 2, so it's going to go back to here. Same with this side. This is going to go to the third one. So it's more just keeping track of which ones go how far, and the color coding in the pattern certainly helps, so you know exactly how far back you're folding things. And this is my deepest one. So when you look at this page, it has the multiple places where this is getting folded to. Now to keep this down, I'm using a little double-sided tape just so the tabs don't pop open. You may not need to do this. I don't really do it for the main one, just these little ones. Depending on the pattern, you probably wouldn't even have to do this, but because I chose to do this raised and this is in the background, I do have to put this, otherwise it kind of, they're popping open. So this is just make it easier for them to stay where they need to stay. But depending on your pattern, you probably would not need to do the double-sided tape. Okay, and then that kind of lines up right there with each one. And the bigger the heart is going to get, this will actually be the deepest point right here. I'm going to continue with the book doing the same process. If you have questions, please comment below. I'm happy to help and explain if I've missed something. But I think having the multicolors in this, and I believe it goes up to 7 layers that you can do. But having this color coded really helps to know how far you're folding it. So this is a simple pattern, but you can get really, you know, complex patterns that will tell you that tab number 2 is going to get folded down to the 6th layer. And again, the ruler that I have has just the 5 markings on here. I'll plan on adding the one that has multiple score lines, which will make it easier. Do you need this? No, you can certainly just use a ruler, a binder, report cover. You know, there are different ways to mark it, but I just find that this makes it easier to score the lines. So I'll continue with the book, do some more pages, and then kind of check in, you know, show you some more progress maybe when I get to the halfway point. Okay, so I wanted to show you about the halfway point of what it looks like so far. And there you go. So you can see the 4 different layers in here. The top one, next here, a low one right here, which is pretty close to this inner one. But I'm about halfway done with it. And it's a simple design as far as the heart. That's what most people start with when they're doing the, like the measure, mark and cut design, or measure, mark and fold, I should say. But yeah, so this is same idea, starting off with the simple one, but then, you know, you can progressively do different designs that are more intricate with the different layers. Okay, and then I'll just proceed with the rest of the book so that once I finish the pattern, you'll see what it looks like with the multi-layered cut. And then I'll probably do something to the center of it. So I've completed the book now, and this is what it looks like with the all the pages done. And again, these depths are based on the 180 marker that I have. So otherwise, you know, you can certainly do different, you know, depths for each layer, but these are based on what my marker does. And this part I'm going to fill in. So what I did was I used the Photo Book Art app to create the pattern. And in Canva, this is what I designed this part, which wasn't a big deal, but that's what I had the hearts put in. And then I took the center part and then created a pattern for this portion of it. So the pattern's really tiny compared to the ones you usually see where it covers the entire book. This one is just for the center portion. And what I did was I measured the height of this, and then I figured out how many pages I need this for. So the number of pages for my pattern is really only 167, even though my book is like 270 or something. I can't remember what it was. But it's based just on this section here. So I looked at the first page. I applied one little strip there. The first one, and then went all the way to the last one where I'm going to have to put the little strip on there. And then that's what I entered into the Photo Book Art app as far as the number of pages. The height, I did this plus a little more in case, you know, I didn't have the exact measurements, the exact height. And what I'm doing for this is I'm going to cut the heart. Whoops. I'm going to cut this strip based on what's here. So I always want to trim, because the heart, when I don't have the photo of it, but it includes the white area around it. I don't want any of that. I'm going to use just the heart. So I'm gonna have to trim all the way down here and not really go by the guides, which you normally do if you've done this kind of pattern and you cut here and here, and then you end up with this white area. I really am only interested in this section, and because of that I have to make sure that I'm always trimming at the top, and then if there's excess it's gonna be at the bottom that I'm gonna take it off. I can't alternate, you know, trimming at the top or at the bottom to make it fit the pattern, because then the design will not line up. So let's do this. I'm gonna put this here, whoops, and I'm gonna start working on this section. So I have already actually cut out some strips here, and this is the tiny little strips, and I'll fold this in half, even though I don't need the whole thing. I think it's just easier to fold. And these ones I don't score the center anymore. It's just pretty easy to fold these in half without having to deal with the scoring. And once I have it in half, then I can crease the whole thing to make sure that it's a sharp crease this way. So now I'm going to trim right at the top here where the design starts, and that's at the top part, and I'm gonna put this here so I know where to trim at the bottom. Which is right there. And then as far as the tape, usually I apply it here. Let's see, maybe you can do it here. I was gonna say we can add it to the photo strip itself if needed, but put it on and fold it over. So just like the other photo strip that you do, that's where you're going to apply this. So let me do another one here. I should have folded it, but we'll do that next. So I trim the top, fold, crease, and then I'm putting it here to trim it off. And then I'm just going to continue adding this to the center part of the heart. Looks like I may not have done the heart quite large enough. We'll see, I guess, at the end here. So I may have like a little white border around the base of it, but that's okay. First book, that's kind of where you learn things to fix, so it might create a cool effect having the white border right at the edge. But you do want to make sure that this is completely pushed against the page. Okay, so I'll continue doing these and then kind of come back and show you what the center part all colored looks like. As you can see, it's kind of already starting to create a design there. So I'll continue. There's the pattern for the rest of the pages, and then cut all this and then apply it in here. Finally completed the book with the Wunderfold's multi-layer feature, and there is the design. Now I did add this to the bottom, which helps stabilize the book, and I have a video on an easy way to do it, you know, like how I did this. But then what I did was just to kind of enhance this a little bit more, and I also had just a tiny bit of a white border from the way I resized this part, so I decided to embellish it with some gems just to give it a little bling. So there's the book with the multi-fold. So hopefully this was helpful in explaining the multi-layered function in the software. It's this is an easy pattern. Somebody requested if I could show how to add the pattern into Wunderfold and you know, kind of create before this stage, but actually just making the pattern in the software. So I can do that as well in the next video, or then, you know, an upcoming video. But this one I decided to add the pretty design, you know, to kind of tie it in with the hearts in the center, just so that this isn't just white. But you can certainly color these if you choose to. Just use a marker to do the various outlines, and maybe by doing, you know, coloring this, I mean at this point it's too late because I've kind of glued everything into place, but coloring this lowest part would have given it a little more dimension and also showing, you know, like one more layer. But in any case, if you have any questions, please comment below. You're welcome to also join my Facebook group and post comments there, questions. Happy to assist and, you know, answer any questions you may have. Thanks so much for watching. I will see you in the next video. And again, with this multi-layer feature on Wunderfold, the possibilities are just endless what you can create with it. So perhaps the next one will design will be a little more complicated, you know, but I wanted kind of like when you do the measure, mark, and fold, it's a basic heart design. Wanted to kind of replicate that same idea and do just a plain heart for this as well. Again, any questions, comment below. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next project.